All right, homie. So we were just talking about like some of the crazy stuff that happened with the newest like Sentai and Kamen Rider seasons of this year, Kamen Rider Gav and number 1 Sentai Gojucher respectively, right? Since we were like on the vibe of talking about Power Rangers a bit, I figure we should talk about the news that's been going around, circulating on social media, that is with Power Rangers, right? So let's take like a dive into what the actual fuck is going on. A live action Power Rangers series is in the works at Disney Plus, right? Jonathan E. Steinberg and Dan Schatz, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, will serve as showrunners. So this is like the big news. And I just want to say, like, normally I don't follow along like, you know, rumors or things like this, especially for like Power Rangers, because the last like Power Rangers like actual thing outside of like, let's say, a video game like Rita's Rewind or some shit, by the way, pretty cool game with like, you know, friends just jiving along and having fun, right? Very fun time for a beat 'em up, right? But a live action Power Rangers, what? Right? I'm like thinking in my mind, like, what the fuck? This is like, I don't follow along with like, you know, rumors or like small like threads like this, because to me they're not very like substantial. But this is like, you know, with the exception of Power Rangers, because even like something as small as like this can like be a big like, you know, word of talk, word around town, word of gossip in the Power Rangers community, that like, oh, thought Hasbro was like done with them, because yeah, like Hasbro was definitely like, you know, given the IP the stink eye for the past like couple of months. The last like Power Rangers thing that was under like the Hasbro belt was Cosmic Fury, and yeah, it was good, serviceable. It definitely had a lot of like the beats that, you know, they had from like new age Power Rangers, right? You know, the Saban, Neo Saban era, and the Hasbro era. Just goofy jokes, cheesy, sounded like robots here and there, right? It was just not fun to like, you know, watch. It's just like, this is why like I gave up on like Power Rangers, right? Back all the way at like Ninja Steel, because I could not handle the material that they were just like giving out to us. Power Rangers is just like tokusatsu, but under a westernized like, you know, sphere. It's like, I would call it American tokusatsu. I'm sure many people would like agree with that, like, you know, sentiment. And this penultimate one was, I think it was Once and Always. It was the Netflix exclusive mini movie about, of course, right? Of course, deaths of Power Rangers family members. More specifically, Soy Trini, the Yellow Ranger, who died way before, and the more recent one, which is Jason David Frank, and, you know, his apparent, you know what's. I'm not gonna say the full thing, but you guys can put 2 to 2 together. That was like the last like instances of an actual like produced Power Rangers thing like at all, and we never saw Power Rangers like ever again after that, right? And then like a few months ago, or I think it was like half a year ago, or maybe even like a full year ago, I don't know when that you know, event happened, but out of nowhere, Hasbro started selling off. They made a public out of nowhere auction of all of the Power Rangers props and memorabilia that has been safetied and in warehouses for over like years, ever since like in the 90s. We even had like old school like gear from like the Astro Megaship from like in space, to even the more recent ones with some of the more Cosmic Fury centric things like the Mega Blaster that they had. I don't know how much that was like sold for, but it was a pretty hefty price. That public auction was spread around. It caught like wind to the Power Rangers like actors, especially like a few like Yoshi Sudarso, who was the Dino Charge Blue Ranger, and immediately felt like, yo, what the fuck is Hasbro doing? I thought, you know, they were like, you know, we tied as dogs, dog. We tied as a pack. No, he felt like, you know, betrayed. Like, bro, you sold like all this shit. Why didn't you like let any of us in the Power Rangers like acting like family know? All of like the actors, all of like, you know, the villains, right? All of like, you know, the families of deceased Power Rangers actors, right? Even like, what was it? The Red Dino Fury Red Ranger, Hunter, or what was it, Amelia? Yeah, she got like pissed off, and it was like, you know, she wanted the her costume back. So yeah, that auction was like, wow, they really giving away Power Rangers to just like anybody that, you know, can like earn it, right? I mean, like Hasbro has been going like, you know, through the motions and, you know, through the like the underwaters, right? They've been doing under, I guess that's like why they did like the auction, is to like, you know, get money to further like service like other projects and other IPs that they got like under their belt. But for like the Power Rangers like, you know, community, right, this is like a total like lack of like disrespect, you know, just like selling off like props and like, you know, costumes, right, to anybody, and not even to like, you know, the actual like, you know, actors who played like those characters in those like sets. No, they're just like giving them away, you know. Like that's so fucked. I don't know who got like, you know, let's say like the actual prop for Lord Zed's staff, or Tommy's like dragon sword dagger, right, things like that, or even like his suit. Hopefully like the Jason David, the family of Jason David Frank got it, probably like her daughter or his daughter or his wife, right? But this was like such a what the fuck, man. What the fuck is going on, bro? And now we got like this news, right? But the surprising thing is that Power Rangers is going to be in the works of Disney Plus. Disney era Power Rangers before, right? That was under like this like studio. So these are the Disney seasons: Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD, Mystic Force, Operation Overdrive, Jungle Fury, and all the way up to like RPM. This is not like, you know, the Fox era from Lost Galaxy to Wild Force, where they had like, you know, bangers, right? These are like, you know, good in like in their own way, right? And each one of them are like really good, you know, outside of I think maybe Operation Overdrive, that was like, you know, the Dark Seed. Yeah, this was like the Disney era, and Disney era had like some really good shit though, from, you know, Ninja Storm, about this chilled back like, you know, Cali like in the sun like surfers and skateboarders, BMX bikers, to all the way to like, you know, yo, we're living in a Terminator ass world. One of my favorite series is in like in the Disney era, SPD, man. SPD Emergency. Like, you know, that shit was awesome for character development. I don't know about story wise, but like, dude, this shit goes ham, especially fucking Doggy Kruger, the Shadow Ranger. Shit is tough. The Disney era of Power Rangers, or the Power Rangers that were under, or were like, you know, published by Disney. And we got even more news of like these two characters, right, that are going to be serving as showrunners. Questionable looking dude. He was television producer and screenwriter for some of these shows. He did Black Sails, Free Stars, Black Sails, 101, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which is like the remake of the old school movie with new gen like casts. I think I remember Black Sails a bit when I had like my subscription of stars. Yeah, it's just basically pirates. There's a pretty good like rep to him. Other questionable looking dude. Currently executive producer of the new adaptation of the popular book series Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I mean, off topic, I remember Percy Jackson when I was watching the movie, and I know it got like, you know, a sequel, but that was pretty much like it, and he never made anything past that. One is like more well known and the other is like, you know, just recently like new. Basically just like, you know, from one like show running TV show to another. This brings like to a like, you know, conversation about like Power Rangers, and we'll try to like, you know, make it short. This is like, I wanted to immediately like dismiss it because it's just like, you know, just let's throw it out like the window. Like, yo, Power Rangers is getting a revamp. Okay, sure, right? Like, that's cool. Although, like, Hasbro, like, sold them off, right? So that basically cements, like, the franchise that it's never going to be coming back ever again. Cosmic Fury and the Once and Always, and hell, even the auction were, like, you know, final, like, gravestones. Were the final gravestones that combined into one giant like tombstone and put Power Rangers like in the dirt that it might as well just like put it into the ground, you know. So yeah, I was ready immediately to like, you know, dismiss it off, but I saw a lot of like fan hype for this because yeah, so it's gonna be under like Disney Plus. It's not gonna be under like, you know, under any other studio. I don't know what's like the ownership for Power Rangers, but I think Hasbro still kind of owns them. Is currently owned, but yes, Power Rangers is still owned by Hasbro, who acquired the rights from Saban. Right, I just like looked that shit up, right? Just immediately boop, boop. Okay, so Hasbro is like, you know, talking to Disney Plus and trying to, you know, maybe one last ditch attempt to revitalize Power Rangers again, but I don't know, man. I want to be hyped because I am a big Power Rangers fan, right? But my only like dilemmas would be like, you know, yeah, Power Rangers is dead. Like we've seen multiple like iterations of it like over the years, and all of which, you know, don't really seem to be like, you know, working out for them pretty well. Can't tell you how many times I cringe the fuck out for like, you know, Power Rangers, right? Especially like the newer seasons, and I'm like, I just can't watch these. The newer Power Rangers are definitely for those that are like, you know, younger than us. Like, we're like 30-something-year-old like men and women like who really did like grew up with like Power Rangers. We even got like morphers, we got suits, we got full-on like Megazords from them. I don't know about anything like, you know, deluxe of those Megazords, anything like that. We were hardcore fans of Power Rangers, right? And they were the most dopest of shits growing up back in the day. But as time like moved on, we like Power Rangers started to like, you know, evolve and grow, right? And RPM was like, you know, the peak, the top of like the mountain. And when Power Rangers went to Nickelodeon and rebranded with like Neo Saban, it was like they went back to like their roots, which is kind of like a cool thing because, you know, truth be told, like some of the Power Rangers like Fox era and the even like the Disney era, we're not vibing with the populace at all, right? It was just like miss, right? Financial like miss after financial miss, and yeah, it was not selling well because it was like a different Power Rangers than what the general public knows about Power Rangers, which is like Mighty Morphin. And you know what Neo Saban like did from like Samurai like onward? Yeah, we'll make like new seasons of Power Rangers, new suits, adapted from like, you know, Super Sentai shows, right? We're gonna like hammer away and, you know, just beat it hard on the nostalgia effects of Power Rangers. And what was the nostalgia? Mighty Morphin. have like, you know, the beats, have like the songs, have like, you know, the cheese elements of Power Rangers. All there in every Power Rangers show since the Neo Disney era. Since the Neo Saban Nickelodeon era, right? And this continued all the way to like Hasbro, cause why? Like, it's more recognizable. You get to hear the sounds and feel the vibes of Power Rangers, and this was like, you know, of course, catered to like shows, hence it was like, you know, partnered with like Nickelodeon. I mean, you know, Nickelodeon has like its own like, you know, it was catered towards more like a kid show, and people like us that grew up, this is like, you know, a nice touch, albeit, you know, honest, but the show material was like kind of ass. You start looking at like those shows like now, and it's like, yeah, they're super like cringy. They don't sound very like they don't sound very authentic, and they were just like really like ripping off of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, right? And I talked about this with, you know, one of my friends like Jerry, and I talked about this in a video before, not too many moons ago, that yeah, Power Rangers, right, is a cool as fuck show, but it definitely vibed with the era of the time. A lot of Power Rangers after like the Neo Saban, the Nickelodeon era, was just littered with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You would see everything, anything, just Mighty Morphin in like in the 2010s era of media, right? And to me, I don't know if this is the same for everyone else, but to me, yeah, that shit like made like the newer seasons have like no identity, no soul, because they were just riff-raffing off of like Mighty Morphin. And once again, yes, Mighty Morphin is good, but there is such a thing as riding like the horse too much for Mighty Morphin, that it eventually becomes like exhausted and just like, you know, crashes the fuck out, right? And that's what like ultimately like happened. Too many shows that were just like ripping off of like Mighty Morphin, right? Reusing the same like theme song, reusing like the same beats, having the same like, you know, or similar like cheesy elements from like the 90s, and it just doesn't like pay off because again, it's the time era. Cheesy, it's campy, it's hokey, but we loved it anyways. Too much Mighty Morphin nostalgia, or just like, you know, glazing, right, just became so like, you know, sickening and just tedious and tiring that I just wanted to like stop. If this live action does become like a Mighty Morphin skit, I will be like so mad. I don't want to see any more glazed dick writing for Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. Yes, it's cool, but you ever look back at the old school Mighty Morphin? Shit is fucking dang. It's just too fucking much. Like even at that time, like, you know, rest in peace, Jason David Frank, but yo, I can't stand John Jason David Frank like at the time, because he was such like, you know, the poster boy. I mean, he is cool with like the fans. I would love to like personally meet him, but like, you know, things like happen. Praise and, you know, revere Mighty Morphin to like a T. You know what were like my favorite like Power Rangers like seasons? Ones that weren't like Mighty Morphin like at all. Specifically, I was about to say Wild Force. Wow. I was gonna say Time Force. I was gonna say SPD, Ninja Storm, Lost Galaxy. Mostly the shows that came from the Fox era, and mostly that came from the Disney era. Those are like, you know, my peak Power Rangers like, you know, seasons, because they actually like elevated what made Power Rangers more than like just a cheesy campy show. There could actually be like girths, right? You can definitely, once again, I'm saying this for like the 1000th time, you can definitely show a non-Mighty Morphin Power Ranger season, or just a Power Ranger season in general, which is often perceived as like cheesy and campy and hokey. Dudes put on tight spandex suits for like, you know, half hour runs on television. you can definitely convey a Power Ranger season and have a deeper level of like thinking and storytelling that, hey, yeah, Power Rangers can bleed. Power Rangers can be hurt. Power Rangers can go through like trauma and emotions, you know, instead of just the typical like, oh my dad didn't take me to the prom, I gotta learn about, you know, responsibility. Oh, you know, like fucking sorry. Yeah, you could definitely have Power Rangers that are way more profound in their dialogue, in their speaking, and, you know, in their show material than just like the native like cheesy campiness. You could definitely make them like, you know, an MCU style with like good writing Marvel movie. You know, like that shit can happen in a Power Rangers movie. So I don't want to see like another like Mighty Morphin. I'm just like tired and like drained out of like the Mighty Morphin like powerhouse, you know. The second thing is like, if it's like under Disney Plus, right, and we remember Disney Plus not just being Mighty Morphin like centric, but rather just telling their own stories with their own, you know, individual like seasons, right? SPD was SPD, Mystic Force was Mr. Force. There was no tie in to like any like morphing grid. Each season, each lore, each universe is its own thing. And of course, they melded together with like the Power Rangers like comics, right? Especially by under Boom, and there was like a big like MCU sort of ish with the Boom Comics Power Rangers, that they're doing like MCU like multiversal shits, but done in a way better like effect, you know. There's like Zombie Rangers, there's Olympian Rangers, there's Zordon of Eltar Power Ranger, or Zed is a Power Ranger. That shit goes fucking way ham into that. I gotta read those. I gotta read those. But yeah, like the Disney era was definitely unique because they weren't riding the coattails of Mighty Morphin. They were just like their own thing. And so are we gonna be getting like, you know, a unique Power Rangers, right? Like unique in the sense that like, okay, they're not gonna be making like their own like suits like what they did with like Cosmic Fury. I couldn't stand like looking at them, those like suits, right? Because every one of those like motherfuckers, right? This is like just Hasbro like, you know, lazy nonsense, right? Just like, yeah, we're gonna have like the helmet from like Dino Fury, but make like the suits like new. Those are not new, my dude, and they're hella weird to like look at, bro. They have like fucking like flap pockets. They have fucking tummy pockets or some shit, bro. Like I cannot stand looking at them, dog. That shit was fucking like tilting to my fucking soul. Yeah, this definitely, you know, gives like way that like, yeah, they could be like unique Power Rangers, or like, you know, they could be crazy versions of Power Rangers, right? I don't know if any of like the Power Rangers can adapt some of like the newer like seasons of Super Sentai, but they could definitely adapt. Would be a far off stretch if they adapt the Dawn Brothers, right? That would be a far off stretch. They could definitely adapt like like Boom Buncher. Definitely adapt Boom Buncher. There's even like some shows that they have like definitely like missed out on, right? Like fucking Tokyuger, or maybe like fucking Zenkaiger or something like that. Well, the Zenkaiger is like an anniversary season, so how are they gonna like incorporate like all that? And they tried to do anniversary season, right, with Megaforce and Super Megaforce. That did not turn out or execute all that well, you know? So they could also do like Kira Major to an extent. Kira Major, even yeah, probably like around like those, right? But that shit is gonna be like a hard like task, right? So yeah, definitely like do it, but it's just gonna be like hard as fuck. But yeah, like that's like the news of like Power Rangers. I want to like, you know, end it there. Is that, yeah, a new Power Rangers like is in the works, and although it's like a very small thing, but it just blew up as like, you know, something like big. I want to like see Power Rangers, like if it does like come into light, right? Of course, all in all, this is just like a rumor. This is just like a theory. We don't know if there's like solid evidence of like a Power Rangers thing. This is just like, you know, an announcing an I can't get too hype of like an announcement. Didn't mean to like go ham into like Power Rangers. I thought I would like keep it short, but yeah, Power Rangers is something that's like, you know, like huge, like at least like to me, like next to like fighting games, Power Rangers or Tokusatsu is like one of my like, you know, biggest like, you know, geek slash nerd things that I love like gushing about and like talking about, because I loved this shit when I was like a wee boy posing in front of like the TV while my mom and dad were giving me like the side eye because Power Rangers was so fucking cool, you know? So yeah, I hope Power Rangers, you know, gets resurrected in a better view, in a better limelight, not riding Mighty Morphin's dick, you know, be like its own thing, adapt to like, you know, maybe like, you know, some of the Reiwa like seasons of Super Sentai, and you know, can be more than just like the cheesy like camp that it is, you know. It could definitely like evolve and, you know, not only, you know, cater to either or young adults, either or young kids or grown-ass adults like myself, but it can be like both. Everybody can enjoy, you know, like Bluey type of shit, right? Bluey can like, you know, attract both 30 plus and 30 minus. You know, that shit's fucking good. I gotta watch that. I gotta watch that shit.